You're more ready than you think you are. If you have the idea, you're ready enough to start. And so just know if you have the idea or desire, for energy to it, just start it. And as you take off, so it's a paradox. You're more ready than you think you are, and you're less ready than you think you are. But you're more ready than you think you are to start. And then as you take action, you discover where you're less ready than you think you are. And that's where the learning begins. That's when the learning, the awareness, the skill development, and embrace it. But it doesn't mean you're not qualified. You get qualified along your journey. There's a statement like saying God doesn't call the qualified, God qualifies the called.
Hello, welcome to the show. It's definitely my honor to have my friend and also actually one of the messengers for me to connect to the Gene Keys. Eiji. Eiji, how are
I'm
you?
doing great. Great to be here.
Let me share something about this amazing mentor I work with. Eiji Morishita is the founder of a movement maker. His vision is to unite all leaders to solve the world's greatest challenges. He catalyzes movements and provides expert guidance for change makers. Eiji is a genius at offering training to build profitable speaking, training, coaching businesses, and mentoring thousands of coaches in his career. So, Eiji, that is my honor and my pleasure to have you on this show.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Really grateful, excited with the work you do with Gene Keys and just helping people, live their life and expand and grow into prosperity using their design. So it's beautiful. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Eiji. I am one of your students. Mid-2021, I start to go in Clubhouse. That's how we met. You definitely bring in the insights related to your genius. So today I would like to have a conversation and want to learn more about your journey, how you become who you are today.
Yeah, looking forward to sharing and looking to provide a ton of value during our session here today. I know there's going to be a lot of great nuggets for everyone to learn and use.
My first question, a curiosity, you mentioned about you are part of the sushi movement in North America. Would you like to share some about that background?
So growing up, I felt different because I didn't understand the language. English is my second language. And I remember everyone had paper bag lunches, bringing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or different, typical American food. And what I brought was bento boxes to school, bento boxes and even sushi. And I was made fun of for bringing sushi and bento boxes to school. And I just felt so different. All I wanted was to fit in, and just fit in. And yeah, was really bullied and, just really had a hard time fitting in. In junior high, I was waiting tables for my family business and in the 80s. And I saw like people who were just, people met a bunch of creative people and different things. But I really saw how sushi became more and more popular. Now, today, sushi is very popular. If you ask most people, what are your top 5 favorite foods? It's not uncommon for people to put sushi. Americans who, back when I went to school, it was considered like fish bait, like, oh, that's unhealthy, that's raw. And now it's like super popular. But it just showed the difference. My parents opened up 2 restaurants at the same time and asked me to, I was a high tech recruiter, went to college, .com crashed. That began my spiritual journey. And my parents said, hey, come run our sushi restaurant because I grew up in the restaurant, literally in a restaurant. And so so what I found was my parents were really struggling. They're losing about 15 to 20,000 a month when they first started. And I saw their retirement dwindle down. And then my mom came up to me and said, Eiji, help us with our marketing. Now, I didn't take any marketing classes in college, but I did what I knew. And I had this knack for interviewing people like in high tech engineering and find out what makes them unique, what makes them stand out. And so I discovered that my great grandparents opened one of the first Japanese restaurants in America in 1930. We went back to Japan to escape persecution during World War II and came back in the 50s. And in the 60s, we opened the second sushi bar in America in 1965. And in
Mm,
the 70s, we opened the first fast casual restaurant, and that's the one that I waited tables for. And I just saw the popularity of sushi growing from innovators who were pioneers like my great grandparents to our family friend in
mm,
the 1970s invented the California roll, which was in essence like it was an innovation because back in certain time you couldn't get Toro, which is bluefin tuna belly, in. So they
mm,
created crab and avocado roll as a substitute because it's rich, it's kind of fatty, and it melts in your mouth, and then that's made it more and more popular. And then in the '80s, we started doing more different unique rolls of, like, California rolls, cucumber, avocado, and crab. Then it's, like, tuna avocado crab, salmon avocado crab, and we used to call it, like, Hawaii roll, Santa
mm,
Monica roll, and different things and so I just saw the artists and different things popularize it, and now one of the things I realized is that if anything that's unique, if you live long enough, what wasn't cool will become cool, you know? So it's like it just goes in style and just like, but in the beginning, we get outcasted and things like that. So that's part of my thing is like through my wound of feeling different and feeling outcast and not fitting in, my brain is naturally
mm,
wired to see the genius, see the uniqueness in others. And once I made that distinction, oh, I'm not different, I'm unique. That's when I realized, oh, I can be connected to others and celebrate for my uniqueness because when I felt different, I felt separated and isolated and I felt alone, you know? So that's where I want people to feel. I want every single person on the planet not to ever feel like they're different. And different, feeling different or saying they're different is what causes wars, what causes
mm.
separation when we're really like we should stop arguing over heads or tails and realize we're two sides of the same coin. And when we hurt the other, we're hurting ourselves.
Wow, the first part you share, I feel like I need to have a sushi for lunch. I feel like I need to eat something. Thank you for sharing all this delicious picture about the sushi history. And I also cannot agree more about what you say about separation. We begin to understand, like you say, those outdated and old fashions actually coming back. We are belong to the field. It's a great documentary film called The One
Mhm,
Field. It's science based. We can tap into the field, then we can connect, we can show compassion and love to everybody in the field. I understand actually we are looking to the mirror, then we are seeing the
mhm.
shadows or the gift. We have the choice to choose what the vibration we
Yeah.
want. This new key teaching is really based on our consciousness
Mhm,
level, and they all happen all at once.
mhm,
We know that like parallel universe, everything happen, everything, the movie, everything everywhere all at
mhm,
once. You don't even need to learn the marketing.
mhm.
You just have your wisdom, right? Your genius is already there.
Yes.
And I think you also mentioned a great point, like you just turn that discomfort into a different level of the insight.
Mm, mm,
That is the pearl sequence. When we think about the pearl, when you have this irritated whatever rock or sand into the oyster
mhm,
flesh, right? They just like, ugh, but they cannot do anything. The only thing they can do is polish, nurture it, and make that thing become bigger than what it was. Then they have shiny color coming through it. Mm, do you want to share some of your movement or how you transit from helping family business into who you are today, the mentor of the movement makers?
mhm. Well, I love the metaphor about the pearl sequence and the irritation with the sand because in junior high, I had a speech impediment, a slurring, and I was made fun of for how I spoke. So that irritation internally, I made a decision that I'm never going to be made fun of for how I speak again. This is before
Mm,
I would become a speaker or a speaker trainer and doing all these things. So it's like all these things have shaped who I am. So yeah, I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I knew I wanted to make a big difference. Like I was drawn to superheroes. I was drawn like,
mm,
back then it was like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, just drew and loved love the what I think it was like the Justice League, League of Justice or so, and bringing superheroes together. And so even then, that's had a profound impact in shaping my paradigm of what I see in the world and bringing superheroes together. As far as supporting the family business, I knew it was like, you know, it was a temporary path because I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And there was a lot of societal pressure we go through is we go through in the book, The Tipping Point, there's 3 phases. The first phase is ridicule, where no one takes us seriously, especially our friends and family. They may remember us in their childhood. It's like, "What are you thinking about that? That's crazy. That's beyond, what the normal is." And there and then
Mhm.
there's, like, violent opposition, and violent opposition doesn't have to be physical opposition. It doesn't have to be as here's Martin
Mhm.
Luther King or what Gandhi went through or Nelson Mandela. But it can be like just peer pressure, community pressure. So there was a lot of community pressure for me to stay in the community. And, because I'm the firstborn in my family and firstborn, especially firstborn sons in Asian cultures, tend to be,
Mhm.
there's a lot of pressure to take over the business. And so I knew that wasn't my path. And originally it was during the dot com, right before the dot com crash. I went to my first personal development seminar back in 2001, and I went to a event called Unleash the Power Within by Tony Robbins. There's 4,000 people there, and I saw a young woman who was depressed and suicidal. Her eyes were literally dead, and within 45 minutes, bring that spark back into her eyes, and
Mhm.
immediately, I had a full spontaneous recognition moment saying, "I wanna do that. Did you see that? Did you see that?" I'm talking to my coworkers. "I wanna do that." I knew immediately, but then my mind started coming in and saying, "Well, who do you think you are? You're a technical recruiter. You don't know how to speak, you don't know how to coach, you have no skills whatsoever." But that initial recognition, it brought in mentors. It brought in a mentor who worked for Tony Robbins as a master coach. It brought in a speaking
Mhm.
mentor who did spoke all over the world in US, UK, Australia, and Asia, and then brought in a manifestation mentor, who's been, and the lineage goes up through the teachings of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and Bob Proctor. So I feel like I've
Mhm.
been now like groomed with the ideal mentors for me to combine these and not be a copy of anyone else, but find my own unique way of serving. And that's the beautiful part for anyone who's here, see themselves as a teacher, as a coach, as a guide, as a mentor. Realize that you could have a million people teach exact same thing you teach, and we're all going to attract different audiences. We have people we're born to serve, and you can never
Mhm.
have too many teachers or coaches of something that is of service because, for me, I need to hear from multiple sources multiple times sometimes. The more I hear, I say, yes, thank you for the reminder. Thank you for a reminder. It's a good reminder. I need reminders versus I know that because, that's one of the dangers is the moment I say I know that, it's actually an irritation, that pebble of sand saying, "I know it, but I'm not living it." It's an irritation. So
Mhm.
instead, it's like it's kinda like that bratty teenager, "I know that, mom. I know that, dad." But it's like, "Are you doing it?" "No." It's like, you but it's like when I really am living it, it's like, "Thank you." That's a great message.
Mhm.
I believe in it 100%. I can never hear too many times things that I believe in and things that are beneficial. It's like the first knowledge gives you awareness, but then the second part is you need action with that awareness. Awareness and action. One of the things we teach within our movement makers community is to be a producer, not a consumer. So, choose
Mhm.
production over consumption. So, when we consume knowledge, but don't produce with it, which a lot of people are continual learners, which I'm a continual learner. But the difference is I produce with what I learn. If I just learn, but not produce, I get obese with information. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves are people are, there's a flood of information. We're drowning in
Mhm.
information, you're dying of thirst for wisdom because we're not producing. Even for this session, like if all you do is just take one thing from whatever lesson that is that resonates with one thing, and apply it to your life. Apply it to your life, to your mission, to your personal, your professional, your spiritual life, and then get a result from it, then it's well worth it. So like it's
Mhm.
just applying one thing, and that's the major difference. When we produce more than we consume, that's when we produce more than enough. That's when we produce an abundance.
Yes.
Because if anyone has a fruit tree, it's like tree doesn't produce just enough for the household. You have so much fruit that you give it to your neighbors and you go and share it with many. Or if you have a business, you can go sell it, because very rarely does a fruit tree all produce just enough for that one household. Nature produces way more than what we need. And when we can share it with others and others share it with us, it makes a huge difference.
Well, that actually lead me to understand why your human design chart showing this particular way. For people maybe don't know human design system, for me it's really a tool to understand the essence, your energy flow, and the mission for life. You and I are generator, particularly when we are young and conditioned, we don't know exactly where we're going.
Mhm.
From your profile, you are the true four in the human design system. Two is the hermit. So that person usually like to be reflective. And the four is friendly. They're just like naturally talented. You have a very, very open head and agina. So that means you constantly has inspiration.
Mhm. I love human design because that's something that I think every person should know and makes a huge difference. And sometimes I do get inspired where I can watch where, I'm learning, getting awareness, then I get a internal feeling of, yes, let's pursue this. And, and the pieces there. So just like when I was at that personal development, usually it's like just paying attention. I think the metaphor I like to use is, I've learned not to try to be the wave in the ocean, and I learned to be a surfer. Like being the
Mhm.
surfer and just wait and pay attention to which waves are the biggest. And then, because in surfing, it's like it's no fun trying to surf little waves or no waves or chasing the waves, right? You wait for the waves to come to you. You may have to paddle a little bit, but the big waves are
Mhm.
the funnest ones. And generally, my practice now is what I call proactive procrastination. If I don't
Mhm.
full bodies, yes. It's like, "Oh, well, why don't you reach out to me later? Why don't you come back to me?" And if it's real, it'll come back. If it's not real and someone else's just spontaneous thing, but, you know, it
Mhm.
really is not really a real request, then it'll just disappear. But things pop back up. So usually what I get is usually people will like, I'll get multiple touch points. I'll get like 3 reminders, and then or it'll come back to me, and then it's like, "Okay, it's ready now." So, I think learning how to wait to respond has been my biggest learning, and not try to initiate and create out of nothing. So, because I know, like, that's been my biggest pain points is just because my heart wants something, it doesn't mean it's aligned with what the universe wants for me. Not always. Like,
Mhm.
it's like,
Mhm.
this is what my head or my heart wants, but unless the universe is backing me up and saying, "Yes, this is part of your alignment," it doesn't necessarily work. Uh, and the
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
piece is, as a generator, learning, I can't s it's like, it's best for me to go step by step by step versus skipping steps and, like, trying to avoid it. Like, I got to go through it one at a time, and that requires a lot of patience.
Mhm.
So, but in general, I
Yeah.
get the inspiration. I mean, I know you mentioned your podcast. It's like, yes, that felt good. And then it's like, whoa, discovering the pearl sequence, and it's like, okay, that felt good too. So just constant like refining until it does get to a yes. But one of my favorite things, and I think this can really be good if anyone has in the past people pleasing tendencies, is my default answer now is no, but if something changes, I'll let you know instead of yes. Because in the past, if I said yes when it's not an authentic yes, it always ends up in resentment, disappointment, or frustration. on my end or the other person. So unless it's full
Yeah.
yes, it's a no. And it's like no, but and there's a yes and, but I'm learning no, but if something changes, I'll let you know. But I'm a no for now, and that just frees me up, and it
Mhm.
frees me up from the feeling of obligation and the worry of letting people down, because that's one thing I don't like to do is have anyone feel disappointed or let down.
Well, you really live and as a generator, using your strategy, way to respond, and using your inner authority in solar process. Like me, I'm the sacral generator. So for me, I can just using my sound. I'm relearning that sounds and I observe other people. But you see the little kid, but they're not that programmed yet.
Right.
They are really near to who they are. And it's amazing.
Yeah,
If they really say, that means they really know they don't need it.
yeah.
So I think it's a very nice to learn this body mechanic.
That is great.
Um,
That is great. I'm always
mhm.
like, not always, but I feel sometimes envious of sacral because you get to make decisions so much faster. And for me as an emotional, it's
Mhm.
how long does it take? It's as long as it takes. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer, but I really don't know.
Yes. Now we talk about timing. Right now, I know they are all just a quantum field. There's no time issue there. That means every moment we can activate this, we can choose it. And it doesn't need to be, okay, so I have to activate myself first. I have to evolve myself first. I have to learn my lesson. I have to get rid of my pain and trauma. Then I can
Mm,
shine. This is just the codependency, the linear thinking. No, it's just different layer. They all happen in a one time, which means you got more persistent. You can start to play with it. It just become how you empower yourself to know you have a choice.
mm,
Then you don't need to wait.
mm,
But you still need to wait to respond with your truth, but you don't need to wait until you are ready. 'Cause every time is perfect timing.
mm,
It's just a
mm.
choice. Right? So it's nothing wrong or right, just our tendency to
Yeah.
judge, right? But either one will give us something.
Mm,
I use the human design to let people know they all have the options. You don't have a right or wrong in any moments. It's just based on your definition. When you define that as stress, and that's definitely a stress.
yes.
But you define that as excitement.
Mm.
Just have some fun, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love how you take the judgment out because I think, all actions and it just feedback is like we take an action, we get feedback, and it's really neutral. It's not wrong or right or, good or bad, but then that allows us to grow. But it's like, because I think it's like there's so many people who get stuck on, oh, I don't want to make the wrong decision. I don't want to make a bad choice. Or there are no bad choices. There are no wrong decisions. They're just learning moments. A lot of my greatest gifts came from making poor, like choices that didn't work out, saying, okay, I learned something. So now I'm better prepared the next time. So I love
Yeah.
that aspect of like kind of being neutral, getting out of judgment of good or bad, wrong or right, and that's the thing
Mhm.
is like, I think that's part of my too is I'm still being the natural. I'm exploring and discovering, well, what are other things I'm natural at, and because
Ah,
realized like I have dormant skills and talents, like even the movement and moving my body and dancing. I'm 50 years old right now, and it's like, well, for the first 44 years of my life, I didn't move my body a lot. I mean, I played some sports and different things, but I found I had a natural gift for it, and it opened up my body in a way that, it's like most people think I've been moving for 15, 20 years.
yeah, yeah. We are all really unlimited. And once we wanted to open up, have some fun, and get back to that child, just like explore without any limitation, that everything can happen.
Yeah.
The golden path has three different sequence. The first activation sequence is the doing and being. Then the second one is called Venus. It's reversed to see we have something we need to clean
Mm,
based on what the ancient system we come down here from the higher realm, but we volunteer to come down because we need to take off some of the past memory or lineage. We need to clean up those kind of things. So we volunteer to come down to experience things. So then we can let it go. So the Venus is reverse engineering, go back to our
Oh,
womb.
wow.
Your childhood wounds, 7 years imprinting, your emotion strategy, and also the intellect when you think you need to achieve, but not necessarily that's the path we choose to. So the Venus is go back to delete that limiting beliefs built through our lifetime. If we really face our life, honestly facing all the challenges and take the whole learning process not too serious, but just to experience it, then that's the Pearl sequence. So there's a 4 spheres in the Pearl sequence. The first is called Vocation. That means you start to declare, I own this business. But the business not necessarily is a real business as you understand your capability. So you want to start sharing your gifts. That's the vocation sphere. Then you have culture. That's the structure for the business you want to build. Then when you have that quantum field, the first one, that's your personal branding. It used to be life work at the activation sequence, but now it become your brand. So that quantum structure in the middle, that's your pearl. So the pearl, based on our understanding, is the quantum field. We couldn't manage to interfere because that's our core. You couldn't change that, but you can make it better and bigger and shinier. So that is the pearl sequence. And for your vocation, your number 2 and the line is 3. Like this is based on the hexagram. So it's 1 to 64 different archetypes. And each number has different archetypes. So you are number 2, that actually is the Mother Earth energy. Your vocation is coming from the shadow. It's called dislocation. Because think about the universe, they coming separate, like the heaven and the earth. So you start with the default is dislocation. But then because the vocation, you start to have all the experience, you unite people, then you knowing where you're going. So orientation would be your gift. You start to tune into the right place. From the dislocation, but you're going back to reconnect. So your highest expression is a unity. So you unite and also integrate together, become a shiny, clear focus about what you want to do. But that's your vocation sphere.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, makes sense. Part of like helping people find their genius is to go back into their past experience and make sure that they're not disowning any past experience because they include ingredients that's going to make them successful or happy or satisfied in the future. Like, you see people like, oh, I was successful in this, but I'm on my spiritual path. So I'm disowning my successful path or, so they can bring it all together because we're a combination of all our life experiences and uniting it together and not, disowning any of it as well. So
yeah. And your line is number 3. So in the vocation line, 3 is a strategist. Well, you implement a lot of different modality or strategies to help people to reunite their genius and become a unity consciousness. So that is amazing. I thank you for that. Because we all need people to integrate, synthesize, and not separate, and everything has a purpose.
yes.
Everybody have a different gift, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I love that. And thank you for the reminders. Like that's part of why I do what I do is to raise unity consciousness and for collaboration, cooperation, co-creation versus competition and fighting others. So it's like, it's great to see that that's part of my design.
For your structure, your number 49 and line is number 3. 49 is such a unique key in gene key system, 49 and 55. It indicate a big revolution is coming. 55 is more like individual and 49 is kind of society to change. The line in the culture is your structure. 1 is individual, 2 is partnership, 3 is units, 4 will be the network, 5 is society, 6 is the system. So you can see that you are the unit for revolution, but you will start with the lower vibration reaction. You just see that things you don't like. When you take early reaction or improper reaction, you might not get the result you want. And you don't need to against something. You need to create something better than the old one. That's a revolutionary, not a reactionary. Right. So revolutionary, you start to create a new system. Then the units support you to push this movement away or above. Then you finally get to the rebirth. That is the higher expression. When you serve, you could turn that irritated stuff and go up again, become a shiny. So that is culture.
Wow, I love that. It's like, and that I love the difference in the reactionaries. They're against something, want to just abolish what they're against, but revolutionaries create a new model. And this is one of my favorite quotes is by Buckminster Fuller, who shared, like, you don't change existing reality by fighting against it. You change it by creating a new model that makes the old model obsolete.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Definitely. So then your pearl is 37 and the line is 6. 7 in the ancient hexagram is the family key. You feel very grounded with your lineage, stuff like that. But people can perceive 37 as weakness. But it's not at all. It's just kind of holding the space. So you're not against things. You're just receiving, allowing. So as a pearl, which we cannot really do anything with it, I can see you just actually keep polishing out the tenderness, because that's your highest expression. In Taoism, nothing can against tenderness. It's just soft like water, like wind, like a baby. You think about the innocence and that tenderness. Eventually, you're polishing out everywhere you go. It's just like a breeze in the sunshine there. So that's your pearl. So the line 6 for pearl, actually, you are just like nature. Your personal branding is 24. The 24 is very comfortable. So you're addicted to comfort. In the beginning, like, oh, I just want to be stable. That's my environment. I don't want to go far. I want to be close to whatever my family want me to do. But then you start to understand that's not your path. So you will finally get up to this gift frequencies invention. So you create your own path. So you're comfortable about what you belong, but you can feel that's not what you want. So you invent a new path. Then in the highest, you will actually just become silence. Silence is not like saying nothing. Silence is actually you know everything. You don't need to say anything because you already know everything. The insight I get from here is just be and continue to serve and move your movement and make something new, not to react to it, but create something better.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And just, I think that's so needed right now, because I think a lot of people are living in reaction in the world, and like that's where it's creating a lot of the divisive nature and consciousness. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I so appreciate you are here, and so we have a chance to have conversation, and it's my honor to share your pearl sequence. So I wonder, is anybody want to connect with you, where they can find you?
Yeah, definitely on Instagram. I'm at Real Movement Makers. At Real Movement Makers, you can connect with me there. Also on Facebook. Our website is movementmakers.org. We run challenges, online challenges, helping people discover their authentic voice and getting out there and really being powerful in terms of developing that unshakable confidence, becoming unstoppable, and really making that change. So those are some ways that we can stay connected.
Great. Thank you. So I certainly appreciate you turn your irritated grow up experience and become such a beautiful movement for everywhere you go. So I really appreciate it. And before I let you go, I wonder you have any parting message for the audience?
Um, yeah, I used to share this already is you're more ready than you think you are. If you have the idea, you're ready enough to start. And so just know if you have the idea or desire for energy to it, just start it. And as you take off, so it's a paradox. You're more ready than you think you are, and you're less ready than you think you are. But you're more ready
Mm,
than you think you are to start. And then as you take action, you discover where you're less ready than you think you are. That's where the learning begins. That's when the learning, the awareness, the skill development, and embrace it. It doesn't mean you're not qualified. You get qualified along your journey. There's a statement like saying, God doesn't call the qualified, God qualifies the called. So you get qualified
mm,
as you go. You don't, there's no amount of preparation that's going to make you ever feel 100% ready. So let that need to feel ready and get over and just jump in, as you go. And,
mhm,
the last thing is, which I love about what you do with the pearl sequence is abundance is natural. Abundance is natural. And what I invite my clients and my movement makers community, especially those who are not only focused on making a difference and growing, living with prosperity, living with time freedom, and it's like money, freedom, and impact are the three drivers. Is choose prosperity instead of abundance because abundance is natural and we can have abundance of problems. We can have abundance of ants, in the wintertime or whatever, we can have abundance. Abundance is natural. So that's you don't have to do anything to have abundance. Choose prosperity because prosperity to me
mm,
is having more than enough to be able to share with others. Good stuff. We're sharing the good. So that's where prosperity and wealth is. Wealth is an
mhm,
energy of
mm.
having more than enough. Wealth is, physical
Yeah.
wealth, mental health, emotional health, spiritual wealth, but it all starts with health first to wealth. But yeah, choose
Mhm, mhm.
prosperity. And that's why I love how you kind of share the pearl sequence because it's the prosperity sequence in our lives.
Wow, I deeply appreciate your wisdom. That remind me the Chinese character about the real prosperity is everybody has the food to
Mm,
eat and share.
mm.
That is the character for Chinese about
Oh wow. That's
prosperity.
beautiful. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a lot of picture in the Chinese word, so I relearn my language. Thank you so much, Eiji, to keep the good movement and reunite everybody. Thanks,
thank
Eiji.
you, Sonny. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. See you around.